years of Roblox, we've seen games come and go, and many are forgotten about for many reasons. So in this video, we will be talking about most of the Roblox anime games that you've probably forgotten about. Now, without further ado, make sure you like, subscribe, and let's get straight into this discussion. Now, let's start the video off with a Roblox DBZ game that held a special place in many people's hearts, including mine. Dragon Ball Final Stand. DBZ Final Stand was probably one of the greatest Roblox anime games during the period of 2017 and 2018. The game was created by Snake World, a notable developer known in the community for ABA and other known games in the Roblox anime community. The reason DBZ Final Stand was so special is because it was the first Dragon Ball game that really allowed you to feel immersed in the open world of the Dragon Ball universe. I mean, you can go to other planets, participate in the Tournament of Power, and even become a god if you wanted to. In 2020, we saw some of the last few updates that the game would have. The dev team still does do tweaks for the game here and there, but there has been no major update to the game in a while. Now DBZ Final Stand sits at just under 1,000 players every day. The devs have confirmed that a Dragon Ball Final Stand remaster is still in the works, however not much news has been confirmed about the game and its release date. Now on to another Dragon Ball game, Dragon Ball Online Generations. Another great Dragon Ball game that unfortunately was completely forgotten about by the developers of the game. Dragon Ball Online Generations was created by Sonny DeBoss and his Asunder Studios back in 2019. Dragon Ball Online Generations was a sequel to the original Dragon Ball Online, which was released back in 2012. In 2020 alone, DBOG received more updates than GPO has ever had in the last year of the game being around. All good things may come to an end, and in 2022, the game barely received any updates compared to the 2 years before. Sony ended up taking a huge step back from the game, and of course this led to the player count dropping dramatically. Now in 2023, the game can barely pull over 500 players, and it's constantly hovering around 100 to 300 players every day. Now for more of a recent DBZ game, we have Zenkai Origins. Zenkai Origins originally came out back in 2021. The fun fact, it actually was the first gameplay video I ever posted on YouTube. So this game had potential to be the best Roblox anime game on the platform, let alone DBZ. Zenkai Origins had one of the coolest tournament modes I had ever seen. It really was just like the one in the show with the announcer and everything. I love Zenkai Origins for its graphics, and the combat reminded me much of Final Stand. Yes, it was your traditional Dragon Ball game as far as the progression, but it felt so much more modern. Sadly, after the launch of the game never really got updated, and Zach, the creator of the game, essentially abandoned it and has not talked about it since. Dropped one of the greatest Dragon Ball games and it left it forever. Truly tragic. Now the game sits at maybe 1 or 2 players daily. Now on to some JoJo games that have been forgotten about, starting with A Bizarre Day, a very iconic JoJo game created by the Guest to Blame. ABD, after releasing, became one of the biggest Roblox JoJo games. YouTubers like Infernasu and Flamingo did videos on the game, which of course helped with its popularity. ABD, as far as I know, had a very diverse selection of stands, and this made people really love the game. Despite its simple nature, the game was very addicting to play for most people. Initially, it was an RPG-style JoJo game, but after the departure of the original creator, the Guest to Blame, the game unfortunately derailed. The game was given to Tornado, and he would unfortunately be the downfall of ABD. The game would start receiving consistent updates, and then the game was slowly turned into a sandbox, and this made players very upset with the state of the game. Then the release of another well-known game, Your Bizarre Adventure, would be the final days of ABD's initial reign as the best JoJo game on the platform. This led to the current state of the game, where it now hovers around 100 players, and only is inhabited by hardcore fans of the game. On to another Roblox JoJo game that's been forgotten about, Troublesome Battlegrounds 2. Troublesome Battlegrounds 2 was created by Cloud Rise back in 2020. People grew to love this game so much, and with many other JoJo games, it grew a community on YouTube as well. At first, TV2 was being updated and balanced very well, which was unheard for most JoJo games. Developers, as far as I know, were in college, which means they had to deal with the school that they were going to, so that means that TV2 was just bound to just lose development time. But now the game hovers around 10 to 50 players daily, and the game was just simply abandoned. Now on to a very popular Roblox JoJo game, which is Project JoJo. Project JoJo was created by MLG Arc of Oz and was released back in 2018. The game was just a basic JoJo game until they introduced Stand Fusion, a feature which made the game grow insanely. Thousands of players went in and gravitated towards Project JoJo since this new fusion feature has never been seen before in a JoJo game. It allowed you to create some of the craziest stands ever, and it was really fun to experiment with. The game did go through tons of changes with balancing, and a lot of people did quit due to these changes. After all, these changes happened so suddenly, and then the game just slowly kept losing players. Now the game averages about 50 players daily. Now on to a more recent JoJo game that was released, which is Project Star. Project Star was created by A4D Cube back in 2021. Project Star was based on the part 3 of JoJo Bizarre Adventure. The game was primarily a storyline based game and had very good graphics, which at the time had never been seen before besides YBA. I mean, our old PC was practically gonna blow up for playing it for too long. Of course, for money, they had to go the skin route and had shiny stands in the game as well for those who wanted to indulge in spin robot. The main issue with Project Star was that it practically had no content after you were done with the storyline in the game. The developers essentially dropped the game and realized that it was too much work to update the game, so they decided to abandon the game and its community. I still remember the day the game released, and it had about 30,000 people playing on launch. It was said to be the game that was going to take down YBA for good. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition, so the game never got a true update after launch. The game has since been forgotten about, and now can't pull more than 20 players on most days. Now on to some Demon Slayer games that have been forgotten about, starting with Demon Slayer RPG 2. Demon Slayer RPG 2 was created by Higoshi in 2020 as a sequel to his original Demon Slayer game. Demon Slayer RPG 2 was one of the first Demon Slayer games to follow the traditional formula of getting your breathing then completing final selection. The game featured many different breathings from the show. Of course, with time, people forgot about this game. As much better games came out, it looked and played better. I've recently heard that the community of this game is really toxic, unfortunately, and this has also killed the player count a lot. The game is basically over for any future content, as Higoshi has stated that he is working on Demon Slayer RPG 3. Demon Slayer RPG 2 now sits at around 700 to 800 players daily, and is still doing surprisingly well for how old it is. Another early Demon Slayer game that came out was Demon Journey. Demon Journey was created by Ladle and the YouTuber Seiji4 back in 2019, and the game gained major popularity in 2020 as one of the first Demon Slayer games to release. Demon Journey was indeed your basic Demon Slayer game, but it was solid for what it was. The main reason why Demon Journey died is due to other games coming out and doing the Demon Slayer formula better. The game was pretty outdated in 2020. The combat was quite hack and slashy with no real combos, but for the time it was pretty solid Demon Slayer game. The game now sits at around 50 players and is just another early Demon Slayer game lost within the sands of time. Now on to some One Piece games that were also forgotten with time, starting with Steve's One Piece. Steve One Piece was created by Steve_Bob back in 2018. Steve's One Piece is widely known as one of the fathers of modern One Piece games. It was one of the first One Piece games that was released and was actually built very well. It may have not held up too well because other games like GPO have now come out. Of course, time is very innovative and people would even argue that this game was ahead of its time. Eventually, Steve_Bob discontinued Steve's One Piece and the game went down in players due to this. The game now sits at around 10 to 20 players daily. Another One Piece game that came out around that time is OPL, and it was created by Obelisk back in 2008, but it wasn't released until 2017, almost 10 years later. The game is considered one of the oldest One Piece games to gain popularity. I like to call this game the grandfather of AOPG. I'd even say that this game is actually better than AOPG, because that game is garbage. The reason I call it the grandfather of AOPG is because the stat system of OPL was actually very similar to that game. This is one of the only One Piece games to let you obtain the power of 2 devil fruits and a unique gameplay feature called Going Legendary. This of course became an outdated game shortly after the release of other games such as Steve's One Piece and later on Blox Fruits. So now the game sits at around 100 players daily. Now we must talk about the My Hero games that came out and that have been forgotten about. Boku no Roblox. Boku no Roblox was one of the first Roblox My Hero games to be released on the platform. Was created by 10 back in 2018. The game exploded in popularity around that time and was for a lot of people's introduction into anime games on Roblox. The game featured many different perks and abilities for your character, and naturally it was the best My Hero game for a while. It has recently received an update, but that didn't bring back most of its players, and now the game sits around 100 to 200 players. Another forgotten Roblox My Hero game was Heroes Ultimatum. Heroes Ultimatum was a game created by Yovan, who is known to kill the games that he owns. The game released back in 2021, and many people were just unimpressed with the game. It was your basic banner beating game and had very boring progression. Eventually it closed down due to this. Now I went to a Naruto game that I think most people tried as a kid, Beyond Beta. Beyond Beta was created by VB Studios, which is Rail Games' old studio. Beyond Beta was special since it was one of the first Naruto games to release back in 2018 and was one of the greatest to do so. And many tried it out since it allowed you to create your own Naruto ninja and explore the world of Naruto. Beyond Beta gave the blueprint for games like Shinobi Life 2 and Shindo in the future. Now the game sits around 20 to 30 players daily. Now on to a Pokemon type game that was originally supposed to replace Pokemon Break Bronze after its shutdown. Lumion Legacy was created by Lando and Llama Train Studios in 2019. Many of the Brick Bronze community decided to play it. I played it when it first launched and it was pretty fun, although lacked content, but we all know that this wouldn't change. Game at first, though, in 2021 got pretty decent updates and events to keep the players happy. Then the entire year of 2022, Lumion Legacy was slowly being forgotten since the devs were taking entirely too long on the Big City update. But now most players have given up on it and went back to playing Brick Bronze copies, since that is definitely the better game. Now Lumion Legacy sets at around 1 to 2K players every day, with new events being added every once in a while. Now to a Blue Light game that gained popularity around 2022. The game was called Egoist and was created by user_Tom. The game rode on the hype that was the Blue Lock anime. Many devs around this time tried to create the best Blue Lock game in what I like to call the Blue Lock hype on Roblox. Egoist was one of these games around this time, averaging around 10K players daily, which was insane. Then eventually the Blue Lock hype died after the anime ended, and of course the game died with it. Now Egoist sits at around 200 to 500 players daily. I went to a Sword Art Online game that had everyone addicted back in 2017. Swordburst 2. As a kid, I absolutely loved this game with my friends. The game was made by Abstract Alex. The thing that made Swordburst 2 so addicting was finding new gear and making builds with your friends as you went through each floor of the game. It was simple, but worked for a while, until the game eventually stopped receiving updates, of course. And then it was confirmed that the creator, Abstract Alex, would be working on Swordburst 3, which is still in development to this day. Swordburst 2 now sits at around 300 to 500 players daily. I went to some anime crossover games that were forgotten about, starting with Anime Warriors. Anime Warriors was released by Blockzone back last year. Some people loved it and then some people hated it, but it did have an interesting concept for what it was. Some of her units and then fight through waves of enemies. With this Dogen battle type system, it definitely made for summoning in the game more viable due to the game having a decent pity system. The game even had PvP, but Blockzone pretty much forgot to keep the game as just as fast as we did. I can only hope that they're working on Anime Myth, Anime Legends, and all the games are under 100 players daily, and was quite possibly one of the biggest cash grabs I've ever seen. We went to Anime Mania. Anime Mania was created by Yakuza back in 2021, and tried to make a comeback in 2022, but failed of course. Anime Mania was yet another game where you summon for units and fight waves of enemies just like Anime Warriors, but with worse graphics and arguably worse gameplay. The game was said to be inspired by Any Black Legends and ASTD, but died just as hard as Any Black Legends. Anime Cross 2. Yeah, we all know why this game was forgotten about. But yeah, Anime Cross 2 was your ABA before ABA was released, and was featured many different characters in a battlegrounds type of game. It was released back in 2018 by Second Ring, and the game, after adding some of the most broken characters, of course died as ABA came and crushed this game into pieces. Now the game sits at under 100 players, it still has people playing it somehow. Like, who is playing Anime Cross 2? Plenty of in-development games were forgotten about as well by over-ambitious developers. One game I want to point out is Anime Legends, the one piece of Roblox anime games. The game probably is just a basic base plate, but the hype for this game was just unmatched, and now the game is considered a myth. It sucks because it looks so great, but Blockzone has now put a statement out after the disaster that was Anime Warriors and said that they are still developing the game, which I heavily doubt. But maybe, just maybe, it may exist, and we can finally discover what Anime Legends is, and we may even get to play it ourselves. But as I say in every video, if you guys enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more content like this one, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.